Yeah. Every morning seems just the same old routine. Blowing trees, writing these bars, line after line, mining for a diamond, but a dime is what I find. Hiding from the truth by simply coasting through these hard times with green, even though I'm feeling blue. But I gotta face the facts, girl, you know that it's true. And maybe what I'm supposed to do is not to get so close to you. But these days the only things that seem great are fading away. And the only time I feel home is when I'm alone or far away. But the road call says the wind blows. 10 missed calls on my flip phone, so it stays closed. Staring out my window while my mind slowly goes off into my headphones. Hoping that the dough will be worth it for the show, but who knows?
Yeah, let's go and roll it up, blow it all away. No sense in growing up, we laugh like kids all day. And there's nothing you can say that will ever make us change, no. We're never gonna change.
And day after day is just the same old thing. Working class life, and yes, it surely will bring a food to the table and a roof when it rains. But for the most part, you're just doing the same thing. A part of a machine with the ball and a chain. You try to be happy, yet all you feel is pain.
All right. Wow. We are up and we are running. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Today is the 19th of April, and it is Sunday. Welcome to Kicking It with Koz. I am Owl.
Hey, you know what tomorrow is?
What is tomorrow?
Tomorrow's 420. and ICE is doing the Monday edition tomorrow.
Oh, that ought to be interesting, shouldn't it?
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
We will see what it means, right?
Right.
Will eyes carry anything to that?
Right.
So we'll see. But anyway, welcome. It's good to see everybody. And geez, a lot of things went on this week. Between the president and information about COVID and everything else, it's actually been a fairly big week. Hello, Branko. Good to see you. Geez, yeah, it's actually been a very busy week.
It has been a busy week. I mean, nothing in my personal life has changed or my professional life has changed. You know, I'm going to work. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
So I'm really not seeing the quarantine. I don't even know if it's a quarantine. It's just a mandatory isolation. I don't even know if it's a quarantine. And I say that in air quotes just because people are out. I mean, traffic still sucks. People are out driving. They're doing things. They're taking care of, of whatever they need to take care of.
Yeah.
So I haven't been subject to having to stay home all the time. It's just me, so I'm taking care of me. I don't have to. There's no one in this house to get sick of.
Yes.
So I empathize, but I really don't have any apples to apples data to compare this to.
Exactly. And I mean, with me, it's kind of different. Hello, Doc. Good to see you, my friend. I actually have that because even though I've always been home because of my disability, the difference is my wife is home.
So she's there all the time, keeping an eye on you.
Yes, she is. The nice
You
part.
got that video. You got that video that I sent, right?
I got it, but I didn't have a chance to look at it.
Okay, it's just a tip on so she can become more productive at home.
Oh, okay. Hello, El Macho, and hello, Michael. No, what I'm finding with my wife, and it tends to make it easier, is she is working. She goes downstairs in the morning, does her normal routine that she would have done, and as soon as she was done doing her normal morning routine, walks over, pulls up the green screen, gets everything set up so she's separated from everything, and she just sits down and starts knocking out her work. And she says, the nice part is I don't have to stress about driving, and I don't have to stress about putting on makeup.
I got a 20% statement credit on my car insurance. I have AAA for car insurance,
Yes.
and I got a notification that says, "Hey, we're going to give you a 20% premium credit." And I pay my insurance by the year,
Yeah.
and so a couple $100.
Well, you're not the only one. There are a lot of insurances out there right now, car insurances, that are like, well, cars aren't really being drove as much, so we're going to go ahead and, like, for my son, they gave him a $50 credit, and they gave me a $50 credit for the fact that, with all this going on, people aren't supposed to be driving as much. So
that's the plan, at least.
Exactly, that's the plan.
Reality is different than what the plan is supposed to be. But I mean, granted, there is measurably less traffic, but there's still traffic and there's still accidents.
Oh yes.
It's gonna happen. It's just, I guess they're betting you're gonna. How does this work? They're betting you're not going to get into an accident, and you're betting you are going to get in an accident. That's how insurance works.
Yes. And Michael's right. He said this pandemic is showing just how many jobs can be done from home. They're starting to talk a lot about that in businesses and on the news. They're like, we're finding out what jobs can be done at home, and it also comes down to personalities. They're finding, what personalities, what kind of people can do work at home and what people can't. They need the discipline of someone looking over their shoulder.
And I think this will allow or enable businesses to actually say, and I'm not saying that this is the way it's going to be, but it just seems that you know who your productive employees are, of all the people that are working right now. You know who your productive employees are, and the ones that can get stuff done.
Exactly.
You know who can't.
And that
capable of working from home or producing while working at home.
Yes. And that's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I mean, some people, it's a matter of they're more productive when they are at work because, one, there's someone there, and two, they are able to disconnect themselves from home. There have been studies done in the past that people who are very productive at work were not capable of being disciplined enough to work at home. And then there's the vice versa, where there are people who can do so-so at work, do excellent at home. This is going to reinforce some of those, and they're going to start looking at personality types, because brick and mortar costs money. And I mean, like where my wife works, that takes up a lot of office space. Well, if they could cut their office space down by a third, that would be helpful.
You know what I'm finding, and I've been spending, since I'm not going out, I'm not a social type person, really. I don't go out, but I do like to go out to restaurants and things like that, which takes me away from the house. But now I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm spending a very probably an unhealthy amount of time online, and I watch videos and I watch. I read a lot of news.
Yeah,
a whole lot of news. Let me say that again. A very unhealthy amount of news. But there's some really freaking creative people out there.
Yes,
I've been seeing some fantastic videos.
Yes, there are. That's where the best and the worst of people are coming out. The best, of course, being people are being creative. They're doing silly stuff. They're entertaining people. And then you've got, of course, the worst that are trying to take advantage of and hurt people. We get, but from my point of view, I'm seeing more people better out there than worse.
I've noticed, everyone goes out, like on my block, everyone goes out and they work on their yard and they're checking their mail at the end of the day. And
yes,
we're all having conversations with each other from like across the street and, across the, all of our front yards are connected. So, I got a neighbor, Chris, who's three houses down from me. We had a conversation yesterday screaming.
Yeah.
How you doing, Chris? Hey, how you doing, Koz? So it's fun. It's fun.
Oh yeah.
I've got an elderly neighbor that lives across the street and down a ways, and I see her out there checking. And she goes out in her little moo and she checks her mail. So I'm asking her, hey, everything going okay? Do you need anything? And she's like, no, bless your heart. You know how the Texas people do. So I don't know. I think I'm closer with my neighbors now than I was, a month and a half ago.
That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Michael brought up a point. The government is allowing classes that were dropped after a certain date to be refunded. College.
College, okay.
Now that's that. Again, things are. Koz and I were talking about this before we got online, or before we started the show, and this is something that I think even he goes back and forth on it. Okay, right now everybody knows that Trump put out the whole 3-phase program.
With opening the economy back
to opening jobs and economy, so on and so forth.
And please don't think that Donald Trump is sitting in his office going, okay, is today the day? He's got 20, 30, 40, 50 people that he consults with.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's just coming up with this shit off the top of his head.
Ooh, he says round 2 for tornadoes there. Ike.
Yeah, man. We had some weather move through this morning, and then it started picking up steam and dropping hail like around Dallas and a little bit east of Dallas, and it's just kind of coalesced, and it's like Dixie Alley is just getting hammered. So it's Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, that whole Florida is in there too. It's just nasty weather.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. It's that time of year. It's just
it is. It's to be expected, I guess.
Yeah, it is. But no, everything that's going on with Trump, I think it's a positive. I mean, and like I said, Koz and I were talking about this before we got on air, and I can understand. He goes kind of back and forth. One, you do want to keep people. You do, like Texas right now is just starting to go up in their peak, so they are worried. But at the same time, you have other places that are off their peak and going down, and so it's like at this point, what do you do? Well, Trump simply said, and this is where some of the governors are all getting all sorts of giving him stink eye and everything else, because he says, well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow the governors to figure it out, because it's regional. It is not federal. If federal did it, it would cause a lot of problems, because it's kind of like going back to the Soviet Union when they used to do their agriculture.
I think it's like a square peg round hole type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is not going to fit into the same box. New York, they're a ways from getting back to normal. Wyoming, on the other hand, they could probably get back to business.
Well, they're saying, was it South Dakota is to the point where they could go up to phase 2 or 3 because they have hardly any cases. It's in North Dakota or South Dakota. I want to say it was South Dakota. There was a meat packing plant where that was Tyson, and that was Iowa.
It was like everybody in that plant was positive.
Yes.
For COVID. Not everybody, but a damn good amount of them.
They had to stop production of the Tyson foods, and they're wiping down all equipment and sending everybody home for 2 to 3 weeks.
I mean, I've worked in those food processing facilities before. They're freaking. I mean, when they're being used, things are kind of nasty.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end of the day, it's as clean as a operating room. They really do take good care of their facilities. I've been to that Tyson facility.
Yeah, he says his whole town was destroyed last Sunday. Sad to hear that, Heath.
Oh no, from a tornado?
Yeah,
that sucks.
Mm-hmm. I'm sad to hear it. The reality of the fact that, unfortunately, weather is going to happen during a pandemic, whether we want it to or not.
That sucks as far as timing, man.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's not like there's a really great time to get hit by a tornado, or this is a really great time to have a pandemic. I don't mean that. It's just the timing of all of this stuff sucks.
It does. And here's the part that kind of D-Max brought up in his own ways. It should be done by counties as far as opening up.
I think I know that's the way it is. our governor Abbott will issue guidance.
Yes.
But it's up to the mayors of the cities. Like Dallas is a long way away from really opening up.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's a 4-county area: Dallas County, Tarrant County, Collin County, and another one. But we're the little block of 4.
Yeah.
Dallas is in the red. We're kind of in the pink or whatever. Houston, of course, is red. Austin is, I think they're red. So those cities need to be treated differently, and the mayors are aware of that. The problem is I think you're seeing a lot of power. You can see right now the power hungry politicians out there.
There you go. Yep.
Who are really overreaching.
And
you're getting some Americans pissed off. I mean, there's rallies in several states. If anybody remembers Beardman, old OG fan of the show, he's been around since probably day one.
Yeah.
He was in Michigan. I really don't know what city he was in, but there was a rally downtown, and it's like all these pickup trucks and
they
big
did
American
gridlock.
flags and people on bullhorns, and
Yep.
they're playing music, and everybody's having a good time, and the cops were really cool about it, but everyone was protesting the lockdown.
Yeah. And that's just it.
And that's not the only state. I mean, there's lots of states.
Oh,
that
no.
are doing that.
They're saying a lot of, and this is what I agree with, because I agree with the thought that's coming out is a lot of people are saying, okay, fine, why don't you go ahead and quarantine the cities or the sides of the states where the problems are and let the rest of us go on, because, and I agree with this, because everybody knows Washington State has Seattle. And, well, Washington State is really 2 sides. You have the west side, which is where Seattle and all the yuppies, guppies, liberals, and just everybody. That's where they are, is over in Seattle. You come over to the east side, and you have you have the farmers, you have the orchards, you have the ranchers. And like here in where I'm at, they don't even have over 200 cases. But over there, that's where all the numbers are, and they're like, well, we have to lock down because we have these high numbers. No, y'all on that side have the high numbers. We don't. And it's like, so
it seems to be all the population centers. No matter,
it is.
If you're living on top of somebody else, it's those numbers are definitely going to be higher. You're coming in contact with people more often and for longer periods. So yeah.
And Michael brought up a point: why is Congress still getting paid when they aren't in there most of the time? I agree with you. They went ahead and called recess, and the Senate. I mean, they're trying. Everybody's saying that right now that. I guess that small business program really took off as far as people, if you take out a loan and you put it towards your bills and your payroll, it becomes a grant and it's forgiven. And I guess they just went out there and wiped out the fund in a matter of less than a week.
There were businesses that really had no business getting a loan like that.
I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah.
But the idea is, okay, fine. They're saying, okay, we need more. We need another round for that specific program, and the Democrats aren't in Congress aren't willing to come back from a recess. They're actually holding meetings through Skype, but they're not willing to come back from their recess to actually sit down and hash it out. And they're saying this round we're not going to allow the bill to go through as clean as it did last time. There needs to be other things on there. There are more important things on there that should be in there with this. And it's like,
there was a lot of garbage in the first one, and they want to put more garbage in subsequent ones.
Yes, exactly. And that's the horrible part about this.
They're playing politics with it.
Yeah, they're playing more than politics.
It's not just the Democrats; it's both sides.
Well, I agree with you. The unfortunate part is right now the Democrats are paying the worst part of it because they're trying to. The Republicans have flat out said we want a clean bill. We want a clean bill, nothing on it. We just want it to go through.
I think President Trump needs to offer some guidance on this and say, this is what I want. I want a clean bill, and if it has nothing to do with this pandemic, keep it off.
He actually did.
Well, yeah, he said that before, but then $25 million went to the Academy for the Arts or something, and then they ended up laying off or not firing, but I guess laying off all of their musicians.
Yeah, and that's just it. Is there's a bunch? I mean, some of the stuff that's supposed to be they're trying to tie onto this one, because Trump said we need a bill, one, to fund hospitals,
yep,
and get them what they need, and we need to fund the business plan, and that's all we need in this. And Congress is sitting there saying, well, we're on recess, so we really don't need to come in.
He can call an emergency session.
Pelosi could, but she's not.
She's not. Yeah.
She's not. And the idea that has been brought up is fine. The Senate should go ahead, call in session, because they're out too. Come in session and every day sit there and vote on a bill. Put a bill out there and say, we're going to just keep putting this bill out. And we're just going to keep putting this bill out and make everybody see that we're here waiting for Congress to come in. So there's a lot of back and forth, and unfortunately, they're playing with lives.
Yeah, I mean, I really think, looking at the latest polling data, I think pancreatic cancer is polling higher than Congress right now.
Yeah, I mean,
they're really not getting a home run at all.
Well, okay, here's a thought for you. Now you know, what is it? Biden is, of course, running as a Democrat. Okay.
Is he sure?
He has decided he is going, no matter what, he has said he is going to have a female vice president running with him.
For a while, I was like, oh, it's going to be Kamala Harris.
No way.
But now there's other people's names that are popping up, and it's not from the Biden campaign; it's just from people.
That's because Kamala Harris, she did so poorly trying to run as president. She actually had more women hating her than liking her.
Right. I think that when she dropped out of the race, within 45 minutes, she endorsed Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And she did that for a reason, to see if she can maybe get at least on
somewhere
a cabinet position or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And they're talking now. Excuse me, possibly Elizabeth Warren.
And that's another that's another person that kind of rubbed people the wrong way.
Well,
the way that she campaigned. And
what they're counting on, and you know as well as I do, back in 2008, when Obama ran, when there were Democrats that voted for Obama, not because of his policies. You could ask them, they wouldn't even know. They wouldn't even tell you what his policies were. It was the fact that it would be the first black man. That's all they cared about. And now they're saying that.
Yeah, and if you don't vote for Barack Obama, you're either
racist.
An overt racist or a closet racist.
Yeah.
I remember
so then they think, okay, even if people don't like Warren, she represents two things. One, she's a woman. Two, she supposedly represents the far left. And that's what they want to pull in. So that's the big thing is, okay, we're going to go ahead and put in someone who because there are a lot of Democrats, they do not care what the policies are that they're voting for. They just don't want Trump.
I don't know, man. I think you need to look at whoever Joe Biden picks for a running mate, because that's the person that's going to be president.
And that's what I'm saying.
Is it in him to last?
That's what I'm saying. And that's what a lot of people are starting to say is, okay, who should be Joe's vice president? Because
I'm not counting out Hillary Clinton, and I'm not counting out Michelle Obama. Even though they say things.
I agree with you. that's the unfortunate part. Is I agree with you on that one. Candace Owens to run for president. Michael, I love you, man. Have you seen Candace Owens?
Oh yeah,
She is just as smart as a whip.
she is, and she doesn't take any shit, and that's what I like about
not.
her.
She is fun to listen to, and she will sit there and just pull the numbers, and it's like, oh no, just you're just in there going, oh, go baby.
She's like, I heard what you said, but these are the facts.
Yes.
Then she just unloads.
Oh, it is so hilarious to listen to when she's working with son. Oh, Vermin Supreme for president. Vote for a boot worth licking.
Well, yeah, and that was his or that is. I don't know if he's dropped out or not. He was on the independent ticket or the what the hell is he? Was he on the libertarian ticket?
Libertarian.
So yeah, and that's when ICE interviewed him.
Excuse me. Yeah, I remember seeing that he was going to do that interview. No, that at this point, the Democrats have to have someone strong behind Biden. There was talk.
They've already pissed off half of their base.
Yes.
When Bernie Sanders dropped out, it's like you have all these people that are like rudderless now. They don't know what to do, and they're not. They don't want to get behind Biden because he's just as bad as Trump, in other ways.
He's worse because he doesn't even stand for anything. The guy goes where the money is.
I mean, he's been in politics for 55 years or 50 years or
quite a long
like
time.
But now he's got the answers.
And I mean, that's the unfortunate part is the choice as a Democrat is a guy who can be bought off and could die. So they for a while the thought of Cuomo was going around. But that kind of fizzled because Cuomo actually did an interview and said, "No, I am not going to do that. I am not even thinking about it. I am going to go ahead. New York State needs me, and I can't think about that kind of distraction."
Him and his nipple rings.
Yeah. So then, Bernie though. The funny part is Bernie kept his delegates. He hasn't given them over. So you know what he may actually sit there and say, listen, if you want my people to follow me, and you want my delegates, I'm going to go ahead and force your hand and make me vice president.
Mm-hmm.
That's some of the talk that's going on. So I don't know about that.
Such a dirty career choice.
Mm-hmm.
Politics is just horrible, man. It's just you got to dance with the devil, and you can't just go up there and be yourself. You gotta make deals. The only politician in my memory that hasn't played both sides is President Trump and President Reagan.
Yeah.
And and I was really young when Reagan was president, so it's like, I'm not really well versed on him. I remember just liking him a lot. And Trump, I like him a lot just because he's just like a no shit guy.
Mm-hmm.
When he says something, that's what he's going to do. You can expect that.
Reagan, I was actually in the service when Reagan was president, and I remember the fear was, and everybody played up the fact that if Reagan becomes president, we're going to end up in a war.
I remember seeing, I think Genesis had the Land of Illusion. And it was just like this caricature of President Reagan with the nuclear button, just kind of waking up and hitting the button and nuking everybody.
Yeah, I remember that one too. Hey, Michael. Bernie Sanders has been in politics so long he voted for Jesus to be crucified. Good one. And then, of course, we've got Heath going, Joe Exotic for president.
Yeah, as soon as he gets some clemency from President Trump, right?
Well, now, did you see that Netflix added on another episode?
I have never seen it. I probably never see it.
That's right, you have it, because I told you.
It kind of sucked for like the first week after that show was on, because everybody at work was talking about it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I haven't seen it. Not going to see it, but I like the memes.
The downside.
I like the jokes. I have never met Carol Baskin, but I think she's a bitch.
Mm-hmm. The downside that came out. Hello, Wall. Good to see you. The downside that came out
Cool wall breaker. I like that.
yeah. The downside that came out is they in this last episode installment they said there's a lot of things that couldn't be shown, and so they did. It was more of a let's interview the people that participated in this, and the more you found out, the more you got angry at Joe, because Joe. I'm you know me. I like my cats. I like animals. Okay.
Who's Joe? Tell me who Joe is. I don't
Joe
know who
Exotic.
Is he the Tiger King?
He's the Tiger King.
Okay.
He actually had reportedly killed a number of his animals, and to me, there was a lot of should he have been nailed for looking?
What's he in jail for?
What?
What? He's incarcerated right now, right?
Yes.
What's he in for? What was his offense?
Well, this was the problem, and this is the problem I have with the whole thing. He should have been nailed for animal cruelty. They had him dead to rights. Okay. What he should not have been nailed for, and it really does look like a setup, was him trying to find someone to kill Carol Baskin.
Oh no.
Okay. The guy who bought the zoo from Joe, it really does look like he set him up. It really does. Enough to where the only reason the case made it is because they put all the charges together and people got upset about the whole killing the animal thing, so we're willing to say, yeah, we think he could have possibly also went after Carol Baskin.
Did he plead guilty or did he plead down?
He actually took it to trial.
He did take it to trial, so a jury found him guilty?
Yes. I think okay, guys, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they went to trial. I do think they went to trial. Meet constitution requirements and then draw some random citizen name. Poof, the president for 4 years.
Oh, no, please.
Michael.
Take my name out of that. No way.
It's a nice thought, but unfortunately, a lot of people would not want that job, and there's a lot of people who would want that job that would become Napoleons, okay? You have to be careful with that type of thing. That's the nice part about our system and the way that we do it. And, people sit there and put down the party system. We actually should have more than 2 parties. We do have 3 parties, but the third one's not that strong. And there used to be more.
There's actually, if you look at ballots, there's tons and tons. There's tons of people.
Yes. The problem going on right now is we're only
money.
What?
It's all money.
It's all money. It used to be that you were only allowed a certain amount of money to for your campaign, and that's it. And that's when it was really all the candidates had to connect with the people. But our system is actually not that bad when you look at a lot of other systems, because at least for for about a year, you get to see the candidates at their worst and best. The media, as much as they try to cover up stuff doesn't get covered up anymore. Gaffes, problems, true people's attitudes get caught, because people are always carrying their phones around now, and they're like, hey, we're recording this. All of a sudden, someone says something, and they don't think anybody has a mic on, and all of a sudden, they're caught.
Yeah, now there's a big push, and there's because it's not just because of what happened in Wisconsin. They actually held their primary a couple of weeks ago, in spite of the lockdown / social distancing and whatever.
Yeah.
I think that if you can stand in line at a grocery store, you can stand in line to vote.
I agree.
So, I mean, if you want an absentee ballot, fine. Go and apply for one. Just go and ask for one. They will mail you an absentee ballot. But don't make it a mandatory, everyone's going to vote by mail type thing. If you want to go and vote in person, go and vote in person. If you want to mail in a ballot, mail in a ballot. If you don't want to vote at all, don't vote at all.
Washington State pushed that.
The vast majority of Americans don't vote in elections anyway.
Yes.
330 million people in the country, and 60 million, 70 million vote.
Yeah.
There's more voter eligible people out there.
Washington State pushed to where you do it by paper ballot. I did not agree with it.
Paper ballot meaning,
in other words, the only way you actually go to a voter booth is if you registered at the last minute. Otherwise, you get it in the mail. And the downside to doing that is you can't sit there and wait till the last minute to determine who you want to vote for, and that's what the Dems want.
You've got to mail your ballot by a certain time.
Yes. The Dems don't want you to think about it. In fact, here in Washington State, they're trying to push through that if you're a registered Republican, that's that ballot that you get only has Republicans on it. You can't vote for anybody else. And the way they're doing that on purpose, because that way, if you're a Democrat, you get if you're a registered Democrat, you can't vote for a Republican then.
I don't know, man. I'm an old guy. I've never been approached. I'm registered to vote, but I've never said I am a Democrat or I am a Republican or I am an independent. I registered to vote. It's never been asked of me.
No. And I don't ask it of other people. If people ask, I'll say, sure. I'm a constitutionalist. I am somewhat conservative, but I have liberal ideas on top of it. So I go back and forth. I'm not necessarily something you can peg down. When I was a kid and even growing up, you didn't ask people's politics. That was a no-no. You ask someone their politics, they'll just kind of look at you and say, that's personal. What the hell?
And that's kind of, when WTF Nation Radio started 5 years ago, to us, we really shied away from actually talking about, I think politics was kind of off limits. Sexuality was kind of off limits. Religion was really off limits. Red Leg never talked about religion.
Yeah.
And we kind of, but the thing is now it's just that is what the news is.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since President Trump got elected.
Yes.
Every single day there's something about that.
And it comes down to the fact that the reason it's all encompassing Trump is because he is not a politician. He's not a hardcore conservative. He's not, if you really look at his policies and the way he believes, a lot of times he's trying to get the House and the Senate to work it out amongst themselves. He doesn't want to get involved. He actually will sit there and say, don't, figure it out or I'll get involved, but I'd rather you figure it out. And that's what the president is actually supposed to do. Yeah, right. Well, you're right. The news is playing people against each other. It's identity politics. And normally it's done to create rifts so people don't talk to each other, so people don't like each other, so people won't work with common sense. That's a great way to divide the country. And that's how you get things like communism and socialism installed, is because you end up with so much chaos that the government has to take over. Because at some point you end up with such a hard anarchy bottom line that the government has to step in, declare martial law, crack down on people because the people want them to. In other words, the government, a socialist wants people to want them. They want the people to say, "Please come rescue us, sir."
Well, it's not like it is. I mean, right now because of this this virus going around, the Rona.
Yeah.
Like in Portland, you're not seeing a lot of the Antifa stuff going on right now.
No.
I guarantee as soon as this is lifted, they're back at it.
Oh, yes. And that's the nice part about
the government's not doing anything about it, and the police are hamstrung. They're not allowed to do anything about it.
No. That's the nice part about this is the coronavirus is actually undoing some of the divisiveness. And it comes down to what's best for the country. Do I want to see the country shut down? No. I think the economy needs to get back up there.
Can I change the subject just for a moment?
Please do.
You just scratched your head and you took your hat off, and I've noticed that you got a haircut.
I've had a haircut.
I'm very jealous. You want to hear a funny story?
Go for it.
I need a haircut. I usually get a haircut about every 2 weeks, 3 weeks at the most.
Same here.
And it's been over. I got right before the shutdown happened is my last haircut.
Mm-hmm.
It was like that weekend, and then like that Monday they started shutting stuff down.
Yeah,
essential employees and this, that, and the other. So that was about a little more than a month ago. So I need a haircut, and it bothers me. I don't really need a haircut.
But
if you look at it, I had my mirror. I got a little handheld mirror, and I'm looking at my hair. I'm like, it's really not that bad. But I went online and I bought myself a pair, like a hair cutting kit, and it's not like the suck cut,
Yeah.
Or whatever. This is it's a legit, set. It's a pair of shears, and it's got a bunch of stuff in it.
Yeah.
So this Friday, I'm going to attempt to cut my own hair.
Ooh, we need pictures.
This might end very badly.
Well, hello, Bailey. Good to see you. I'm sorry I didn't see you come in at first. And Road Check is going. He got his done yesterday. Did it himself.
How did it turn out?
Heath, I got haircuts last week, but it didn't fit, so I took it back. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, my buddy Kevin Andrew just chimed in. He said politicians are still getting their haircut.
Yeah, right.
It's absolutely correct.
I got my haircut 2 weeks ago, and it happened. I went in. We went in on a Friday to get early to get medicine and to go to the commissary, and I just caught the base barbershop. They were like an hour away from closing, and then they were closing down for good, or in other words, they're going to do a shutdown. And I'm like, and I looked at Faustine because I'm like, it's been about 2.5 weeks. I would really like to get my hair cut. And she's like, yeah, you better do it because I really don't want to have to cut your hair that soon. She said, and I don't want to have you rushing to the emergency room because I clipped you. So,
wow, she does have a lot of faith in her hair cutting abilities. See, my dad. My mom's having a hard time keeping my dad in the house. Mm-hmm. He'll say, okay, honey, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to get a gallon of milk. He'll go to 4 stores. And he'll get stuff.
Uh-huh.
Because he likes to get out. He doesn't like to be cooped up. So my mom says that it's getting to the point where she's going to have to cut his hair. I said, well, Mom, if you want to keep him in the house, shave off one of his eyebrows.
Oh.
My dad didn't like that. Well, I don't know. I haven't talked to him. It's been I don't know, more than 10 days since I've talked to him. So I don't know if he got one of his eyebrows clipped off, or if my mom went and took the leap and tried to cut his hair. Well, but yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for it. And if it turns out poorly, I'll just shave it off.
And see, that's just it. Is I'm getting to the point where I'm about ready to do the same thing. And let my wife do it. She's nervous about it, and I'm like, you know what? All you have to do, and I mean, I can sit there and I said, I know how to do it. It's really simple. I just can't get the back. And I said, but if you can get my back and help me a little bit about on the sides because of my hands, I said, we can. It'll pass. And she started laughing. She says, "Either that, or you'll end up in the emergency room with me clipping you."
I mean, the way that they make clippers now, they've got little guards on them. So, you put a number 5 on there, and you're going to have a longer cut than if you just kind of step it down until it looks good.
And I agree. So
and I've got an immense amount of respect for those folks that do cut my hair. I guess it's a lot easier for someone else to cut my hair than it is for someone to cut their own hair.
Yeah.
I really don't want it to look like a barracks haircut.
I would believe the politicians when they sit there and say, I'm staying at home and everything, if those politicians didn't have their haircuts, their hair look good. And it's as Andrew said, politicians are still getting their hair cut and styled. Exactly. That's my problem. If they're supposed to be inside, why the heck does their hair still look good?
People. I mean, there's privileges, I guess. I've got the privilege of still being able to go to work every day, so.
Yeah. And that's just it. I don't know. We're getting to that point, and we are getting close. The fact that the president rolled out a 3-phase program, some states are going to jump right at it, and I've already said they are.
Yeah, Texas is on there. They're doing and I had to look up what this meant.
Yeah.
We're talking about retail to go. So if you want something, you can go to online or call a retail establishment, order something, and then it'll be there for you to pick up.
Okay.
But you're not going to be able to walk into a JCPenney.
Okay.
But you can get online and say, I'll come and pick it up at the local JCPenney.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I just kind of pulled that out of my ass.
No, with us, I mean, Washington State, they actually, I think, as much as our governor is radical, and everybody saw him in the presidential race, Inslee, okay, very radical person. He had to bow to the almighty dollar. He had to open up Boeing. Boeing is a very big business over on the west side.
Well, Boeing covers, and that's the reason that I'm still working is because the contracts that we work on cover national defense, and it also covers Homeland Security.
Exactly.
And then other customers within law enforcement. So there's actually a reason for us to work. Boeing is really, really massive.
Yes.
But they've got, there are, I guess, places, you can say, yes, you can come to work, and other places that are kind of non-essential.
And that's the question is, what's non-essential?
I guess non-essential, that kind of upsets people. Who's to say who's essential and who's non-essential? I guess it's essential to keep the country moving.
And that's...
But then who's drawing that line? Why, how is a hairstylist not essential?
And you're right. Who is drawing that line? And quite honestly, overseas, there are countries that are having high cases of COVID-19.
Did you see what happened in Bangladesh? There was some Muslim cleric that died.
Yeah.
And there was a funeral service for him, and there was 100,000 people that showed up, and at least the police couldn't control them.
The question that has to come out is, why not, at that point, go back to the drawing board and say, okay, everybody, we're going to open it up a little bit more, but here's what we're going to do. And see, here's again where Koz and I were talking about. Why don't we issue everybody masks and say, okay, if you are out, we're not talking in your car, but if you are out, you go into a store, or if you're walking somewhere where there are people, you have to have your mask on. That in and of itself would pull the numbers way down.
Yeah, Kevin Andrews said gun manufacturing did not shut down in his area, and he said he thinks it actually boosted their production.
It
actually boosted their production, which makes sense. Because when all this shit popped off, I went and bought another gun, and like I said, I stood in line a good long time to go and pick that gun up.
And that's what you're.
I finally found ammo, and it's being delivered Friday.
Very good. That's a lot of what has. I mean, with the gun manufacturing, a lot of people saw the possibility of crime and looting. And so a lot of people went, you know what, I don't want that. And, we're going to if we have a problem where the police force is low because of COVID-19, if a policeman can't get there quick enough, what happens? And so a lot of people thought that way. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I last time I looked, a lot of the numbers for crime have actually gone down. And whoever is trying to call in, I'm not taking calls at the moment, okay?
I think it's Doc because he posed a question, are you taking calls? And then I said top of the hour.
So it is, and we're talking after break, Doc, not right now.
After break.
So
I really wonder, and I guess we can see stats on this. Like this month, we can probably see the stats of background checks that went through like in March.
Yeah. I
think I guarantee you there's millions.
Exactly. And everybody's seen me itch my nose, and I apologize. I went outside today. My wife decided she had to go outside and do outdoor work because she just had to get outside, and she did a bunch of stuff, and it kicked up a bunch of dust, and well, my allergies kicked up also.
I did read an article before we went online here. One of the businesses that's actually booming right now is like the Home Depot, the garden center. They're selling a lot of stuff for people to do gardening.
Yeah,
because that's I guess what people have left to do now.
Yeah. Well, we talked about protests in Michigan. You're actually not allowed to purchase seeds.
Seeds. Like seeds to grow crops, or
yes,
if you want to grow corn and tomatoes and stuff.
If you, for personal use, in other words, residential, you're not allowed to purchase seeds because they don't want. That's how bad the governor got in Michigan. She restricted purchases of things like seeds.
That's a definite overreach right there.
And that's what everybody gets scared about is governors show their true colors when a situation like this comes up, because you're going to find out who really wants to be totalitarian and who is truly about a democracy.
I don't get it. Why would you? Why it doesn't make any sense.
The stuff that she's not allowing people to go on the lakes. No, there's no fishing.
Wasn't it Jacksonville, Florida, open up their beach?
Yes.
There was like thousands of people out there.
Yes.
There was like an overhead camera that kind of shot down the beach, and it was wall to wall people.
Yes. But in Michigan, you can't go out on a lake by yourself to fish.
Oh, like on a boat, like completely.
Yeah.
The thing is, here in Texas, you can. It's not restricted. You can do that.
Yeah.
The problem is many of the boat launches are on parks.
Yeah.
Property, and those are all closed.
Yeah, Michael. Actually, Michigan citizens are revolting. They're actually one of the. I think they said there were 5 or 6 states where the citizens held protests against the governors.
Michigan was one of them. There are several other states. I don't know who they were or who they are.
Michigan is one. Louisiana is another.
I get it, but the thing is, why would... This is where it kind of... I'm like, crap. The governors can say, okay, we're open for business or whatever. But the thing is, even if Governor Abbott says the state's open for business, everything go back to normal, I'm probably not going to be running out and going everywhere and hanging out at the mall and going getting a massage and all this other stuff. I'm going to wait for all this. I'm waiting for the numbers to die down a lot.
Well, here's what I say. This is why I say
I don't need the government to tell me.
No, you
I
don't.
understand their guidance and their recommended actions, but don't tell me people don't like to be told to do stuff.
No, they don't. And the biggest thing I think that needs to come out is, instead of sitting there saying, okay, we're gonna stay shut down for the next 3 or 4 months, say, okay, tell you what, people, if you want me, and a governor can put it point blank, if you want me to open this state up, make whatever masks. Wear them when you are outside, meaning in a place where there are more than 2 people. If there are 2 people, you should have a mask on. If you're in your car, you don't need to wear your mask because it actually can hurt your peripherals. If you want to go to work, fine. Everybody has to wear a mask. That if they simply said, let's do some common sense thinking, and if you get caught, there's a fine.
See, here in Dallas, if you want to go to Target or whatever, there's people there at the door going, you're supposed to be wearing a mask, but they're not prohibiting people from being in there. I mean, because everyone doesn't have a mask.
Yeah.
You can't just go to a store and buy a mask because there's none.
No.
You can make your own, and they kind of stepped back away from you have to have an N95 mask. And then it went to just a cloth mask. And then it was just like, cover your nose and your mouth. And if that means pulling up your shirt over your nose and your mouth, that will suffice. If you have a scarf, wrap that around your head, that'll suffice.
And until I bought one, my wife actually just took 2 hair ties so I could hook around my ears, a piece of cloth that wrapped in it, boom, had a mask.
Yeah.
It's easy. And that was the whole thing is, it's not like it's that hard. It's a matter of making the decision. And
we're all adults, man.
Exactly. Just sit there and say, okay, as governor, I proclamate that if you want to go to work, you can go to work. But here is the simple guideline. The workplace has to provide Purell and Lysol to clean desks, and everybody who comes in has to have a mask when they are working.
I'm really happy with my job and the way that they're handling things. That we have briefings every day, sometimes twice a day. It's just info that gets passed down.
Yes.
So my boss will come in a couple times a day and say, okay, here's the latest. He'll say, okay, these are the people that are in self-quarantine because they were out of the country or they came in contact with someone who tested positive or whatever.
Yeah.
They're really good on, they ordered like 100,000 masks. And those are supposed to be in this week because I work in the Arlington, Texas area, which is Tarrant County. Dallas is in the mandatory mask thing.
Yeah.
It hasn't hit my county yet, but it's probably gonna come. So my company's kind of being proactive. They're like, okay, we will be prepared for this, and they're just really good as far as passing down information. If you have come into contact with someone who has tested positive, they're sending you home.
Yeah.
They're sending you home, and I think you get paid 32 hours for 40 hours. So you're still making money.
Yeah.
And if you can work from home, you work from home. For me, I'm a hands-on guy, so we can't bring that equipment to my house.
Yeah.
So they're really making adjustments for people. They're really bending over backwards because the kids are home, but both mom and dad work at essential jobs. So they kind of trade off,
Yeah.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, dad goes to work. Tuesday, Thursday, mom goes to work. And the next week it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, mom goes to work. And they're giving people a lot of latitude to take time off and to still get paid. And I wish every business did that. And I think there's not a lot of businesses that are doing that. I mean, my chiropractic office, they let a bunch of everybody's like on a little rotating schedule, but they've only got one chiropractor there. They usually have 3 at one time. Now it's just one chiropractor at one time. So, everyone's they're not working as much as they used to.
Yeah. So. Well, and that's just it. I mean, they're even saying at this point, there are doctors' offices that are going to be closed down permanently because they lost too much revenue. There's a lot of things that are going on that when we are open back up, we're going to see a lot of holes.
And even if you're just an individual person, and you're laid off or whatever, don't wait for the government to come up with a program.
No.
Talk to your landlord. If you're renting, talk to your landlord. Work something out. Work something out between you and the landlord. in order for you not to get. I mean, I know there's a hold on evictions, and there's a lot of things that are on hold right now, but you don't want to get behind.
No. There's a lot of things, and that's why I say
a lot can be accomplished by talking.
Yes.
To people if you need something, insurance or your car payment or something like that. Just call. I mean, everybody's going through this together, so just call and talk to.
Be positive about it. It's hard to, but you can figure it out. It just may take a little bit of effort, and you may have to humble yourself a little bit. So, all right, we are at the top of the hour.
All right, man. I'm gonna have some dinner, man.
You're gonna have some dinner?
Taco bake. That's awesome. I made it this morning. I got to shove it in the oven and.
Okay. Well, that sounds good.
And I'll go to bed with heartburn tonight.
Yeah, I know how it goes. I know you.
So I'm going to, like I said, Friday. I'm going to. My clippers are supposed to come in the mail on Friday. If it turns out, I'm going to take pictures. If it turns out horribly, I will definitely
take pictures. We will see Koz with all sorts of fun stuff, and that's okay.
I even because Governor Abbott was like, I'm going to reopen the economy, and then like hairstylists and stuff weren't on that list. I'm like, hey, Governor Abbott, I think you're doing the right thing. I really, really need a haircut, please. And I suggested, and this isn't a bad idea because I was looking at how the United States handled the flu pandemic in 1918. Mm-hmm. All the businesses moved to open air businesses. So they had all these barber chairs and sitting outside.
Yeah.
Some of them were under like little tents and lean-tos and whatever, but they just did everything outside. That's not a bad idea.
No, it isn't. And I think that needs to be suggested. But see, the big areas can't do that. The places like New York, they can't do that. They don't have the room.
I don't know if there's parking garages in New York City.
Well, I agree, but again, they don't think that way. All right, we are at the top of the hour, everybody. We're going to take 10 minutes, take a break, go stretch. Remember to exercise, do a little bit of something while you're listening to this wonderful music. And I will be back in 10 minutes and probably be talking to Doc and just having a good old time, bringing up some fun stories. Things like
you got some lighter stories.
Yes, I do. I have things like
COVID-19 related, probably.
I have things like bear takes cubs from stroll by normally busy Greek lake. In other words, the animals are reclaiming.
Did you see that picture of the lions? It was a pride of lions that was just like camped out in the shade on a street.
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
I've got all sorts of pictures like that now. All right, everybody. Be back in 10. Until then, smoke them if you got them and do some stretching, okay?
Wash your hands.
All right. Shots.
Bye.
Before coffee on a Tuesday, it's already been a bad week. My girls had a couple flats, and my dishwasher sprung a leak. From the kitchen, her complaining, you know it just ain't cute anymore. I get the itch and start to drift towards the great outdoors. I smell the honeysuckle blooms, I can see the red buds too. In my garage, I got rods up on the wall. I got a John boat in the yard under a faded camo tarp. I need a reset to my spot. I hear the call. I just gone fishing. Let her know that I ain't gone. Junk mail don't come out there. My phone won't ring. The only thing I want to hear my reel with a big one on the string. That large mouth don't talk at all, and my weight just sinks away. Set him free, bring him home. The one decision I gotta make. I smell the honeysuckle blooms, I can see the red buds too. In my garage, I got rods up on the wall. I got a John boat in the yard under a faded hear the call. Just gone fishing, let her know that I ain't gone. I got my tackle box in the front seat and my best friend in the bed. Don't come looking for me, 'cause I ain't coming home till long after that sunset. I smell the honeysuckle blooms, I can see the red buds too. I got the rods in my garage down on the wall. Threw my John boat in the truck, filled my Camel cooler up. I hit the reset, hit my spot, and heated that car. I just gone fishing, let her know that I ain't gone. No, I ain't gone missing, I've just gone fishing, let her know that I ain't gone.
Spent my life in the mountains of East Tennessee. Days on the farm, it just comes naturally. Daylight to dark is not for the typical man. Just a backwoods country boy, proud of who I am. Proud of who I am. Proud of who I am. Well, this is my rifle, this is my gun. Let's get 'em, boys, come on and get you some. Let's get you some. And I'll fire all my rounds downrange till the enemy hits the sand. Yes, sir, I knew exactly what I was doing when I swore to Uncle Sam. If you don't like the way I'm living, just remember that it's for you. I'm a redneck camel wearing son of a gun for the red, white, and blue. Red, white, and blue. Pack my bags, headed out to the big sandbox. Just some good old boys and me, some medicine night. Well, the price of freedom, son, it don't come free. I guess that's why the good Lord chose me. This here's my rifle, this here's my gun. Let's get 'em, boys, come on and get you some. Let's get you some. And I'll fire all my rounds downrange till the enemy hits the sand. Yes, sir, I knew exactly what I was doing when I swore to Uncle Sam. If you don't like the way I'm living, just remember that it's for you. I'm a redneck camel wearing son of a gun. I'm a redneck camel wearing son of a gun for the red, white, and blue. Red, white, and blue. We do it for you, 'cause that's what we do.
WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
Oop, there we go. Sorry about that. I forgot to hit the unmute. We are back, and we are here for the second half of Kicking It with Koz. I, of course, am not Koz. I am Owl. Welcome, welcome, and now it's time to talk positive stuff and just enjoy the day. Michael. The one thing I tried to point out, and I'm going to keep pointing out, things are starting to look better. We are starting to open up again. The economy will rise, and we will be up there again. The old saying, "This and this too shall pass." It's just one moment in time. We're going to get there. It's always up to our governors. Sometimes we don't want it to be, but they are our elected officials. If you don't like it, then vote, and vote. You have the right to protest, but be a part of the system. That's what we are. That's what we have always been. It used to be, as you were veterans, you were the arm of the government. Now you are part of the system. The way you make the system move, protest, vote. That's how you do it. Run for elective office. That's how you make things move positively. It's your choice. Become a part of it. Anyway, it is now open to just a positive. Let's start having positive talks. During the week, I have my own stuff going on with game streaming and meditations, and I always reinforce telling people, you're going to be okay. Nothing is out of the realm of possibilities. You can survive. You know this because you have. As soldiers, we survived. We were put in sucky conditions. Simple as that. The old saying, embrace the suck. That's what it was. Those of us who did it, we thrived. Well, it's to that point where everybody else is getting a taste of what we put up with. Now they're crying about it, they're whining about it, and that's okay. We did too. We bitched about it. You can't tell me you didn't. We just knew that it didn't matter who you bitched to because we were all in the same boat. So, embracing what is going on is the best thing you can do. Making the best out of it is going to be the positive thing. You have a choice. You can either come out of this COVID-19 worse for wear or better. I prefer better. I now work out during the week between 3 and 5 times a week. I have an elliptical at home that I dug out of a pile of crap. And I do 40 minutes. And during every 10 minutes, I get off the elliptical and I do push-ups, leg lifts, and squats. And then I go back to it. You can do that type of stuff. If you're watching Netflix, we all know that they have pauses for ads. What used to be ads aren't there anymore. So during that pause, hit pause, do some push-ups, leg lifts, and squats. And then watch another 5-10 minutes. Or at the end of every episode, do it. And then once or twice a day, go out for a brisk walk. We all know that everybody's like, oh, we're supposed to stay inside. Yes, we are. But they don't tell you can't go for a walk. In fact, they actually encourage it. Just don't do a whole bunch of people. Go out and walk by yourself. Go out and walk with a friend. Just go for a walk. keep a nice brisk pace for 30 to 45 minutes. And you will feel better. It will get the blood circulating in your head, in your body. You'll break up that lactic acid that represses your body. It pulls you down and makes you feel like you're just a lump. Okay? You don't need to feel that way. I do it, and I've got some, really neat problems. I mean, I have asthma, I have bronchitis, I have, lungs that are still trying to recover after having many bouts of pneumonia. I have arthritis in every joint in my body. I have fibromyalgia. I can keep going. You want to hear it? I can keep going. But I still do it. And you guys, there's some of you that are worse than me. You can do it too. You probably are doing it. And wondering why these guys who are just not wanting to go outside, don't do it. And I get sometimes some of us have the problem of not being able to deal, getting anxious with people being around us. But man, all you got to do is go for a walk. You do not have to be around people to go for a walk. So do it. It will help you. It will make you feel better. Because you and I both know when we are in the service, we may have bitched about PT. We may have bitched about all the physical shit, excuse my language, the physical stuff we had to do. But we always felt good after we did it. Same thing here. You can come out of this doing a little bit better than when you went in. Take the time to take care of yourself. Now, I'm going to say this, and it's not a cut on my wife, because I love my wife dearly. But if my wife can do it, you guys can do it. Because my wife hates exercise. With a passion, hates exercise. And she is going on the elliptical. She's now up to over 30 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. And she's stretching. That's saying a lot. Exactly, Wall. It works if you want it to work. It's your choice. We've made harder choices in our life. Now make the easy one. Remember who you are. You are the top 4% of the United States. And everybody sits there and keeps saying, well, we just served. No, that means you're top to me. Because you answered the call. The rest of those bums didn't. They couldn't, or they weren't able to. We were. And we paid our price. We earned that 4%. Lead by example. Go out and do it. Encourage some other people to do it. Go out there and wave at people as you walk by their window. Hi, I'm walking. Encourage it. I'm seeing people go back and forth outside my house. I saw the funniest thing I could see today. Big guy with a big belly, big dog, little tiny kid walking beside, and he had to keep the dog restrained because the dog wanted to take off, and this little tiny kid was walking beside, and he was trying to make sure that the little kid could keep up. It was cute as all get out. But if he can do it, so can you. It's going to take an effort. And maybe this is time to change your patterns, to change those routines, to make better decisions. Yeah, right, Michael. You don't have to have been Special Forces or Grunt to be the top 4%. And you don't have to have been a Special Forces or Grunt to have the mentality that you can make it. I was a medic. I was a psychiatric specialist. I was Doc. And Doc, you guys will sit there and say, Doc never did crap. Tell you what, I wasn't one of those docs. I went out there and I humped it with my guys. And while they were taking breaks, I was taking care of their feet. So no, you can do it. Exactly, Walt. It helps. It will help you get better. It's the doc. Yeah, you're right. It's the never quit mentality. I mean, come on. When I went through basic training, we had a very short basic training. It was only 6 weeks. It was actually they said it was in trials to see if 6 weeks was enough. And in 6 weeks, we didn't get any time off. Even on our Sundays, we were doing training. We got time for church, and that was it. They were saying, we can't do these things, but if you don't do these things during your time off, we will know it. So we did it. And we busted our buns. I mean, we worked. And we had things that we all had to go through. You know, different bases called it different things, like the Paragon Trail or the Hell Week or whatever. But during that time, in my group, we had to do, or in my basic, we had to do 4 miles, fully loaded, everything. You had to do it within a certain amount of time. And it was part of a whole day where you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this, and then at the very final, you did that 4 miles. Okay? And by the time the 4 miles came, and this is in basic training, so you were just getting into that mentality. And we only had 6 weeks. We didn't have no 3 months of it. We didn't have no 4 months of it. We had only 2 months of it. You had to, you either had that mentality by then or you didn't. And you just did it. You knew it. You just did it because you knew you had to. It was always simple as that. And that's the way I've structured my life since I've become disabled. I've had things come up where the doctor said, well, it would be smart if you don't drink anymore because it negates your medicine. Okay, alcohol doesn't exist anymore. I just did it. It wasn't because I was an alcoholic. It's just because I was better off not drinking at all. Even one beer messed with my medicine. So, alcohol didn't exist anymore. It's just simply do it. Don't think about it. Don't talk it up. Don't psych yourself out. Just do it. And that is what's going to get you through this. You know that. Some of you are still working, but you still have to lock yourself down when you get home. So go do something like a walk. Do the push-ups. Do the leg lifts. Do the squats in between commercials. You'll feel better. I know, enough preaching, right? Listen, I'm all about the positive. I will talk politics with Koz. I will talk COVID-19 with Koz. He and I have great conversations. But I'm all about the positive. I will sit there and I will always say, you are the top 4%. Grab it by the balls and live it. Because you can. You are that good. And you know it. So, all right. Tell you what, we are to that point where, all right, Doc, if you feel it necessary, call in very quickly because I want to get to some funny stories. If you want to call in. Do it quick, please. I'm going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Come on, I'm running out of numbers here. How high can a medic count? Hey, Doc.
Hey, Al, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Turn down the volume. You're getting feedback, bud. In other words, don't be listening to me on the radio.
No, my computer shouldn't be any. My computer's muted, brother.
Okay. Anyway, so what's up? What kind of thought did you want to throw out there?
I have, something I think that's been ignored is the this national emergency, and any level of government, any municipality can declare a state of emergency. So I just did a little bit of research a minute ago, and the National Emergencies Act was signed into law by Gerald Ford, and he took over Tricky Dick Nixon. Back after Katrina and several other natural disasters, all the quote gun grabbers, the pro-Second Amendment people have been afraid that, they're coming for our guns. They're coming for our guns.
Yeah.
They're going to shut down the National Instant Background Check. And that gets people's attention. But why didn't it get as much attention last week when we had governors, mayors saying that if you go to church on Easter Sunday, if now we're trampling all over the First Amendment, all in the name of a national emergency. And I think, if this law was passed in September 14th, 1976, this thing needs to be revised, gentlemen. It is too easy to declare a state of emergency because we got 3 inches of snow in North Georgia, which we never get snow, and all of a sudden people can't drive and stuff. But you're telling individuals that they can't peaceful assembly, or they can only be 10 people, or they can't go to church, because used to when pro-Second A guys would say, they're coming for our guns, man, they're going to mess us up. Now you're trampling over the First Amendment right that applies to every citizen in our country. How are we allowing this to happen? What can we do to this? And to the listeners out there, how were you affected over Easter Sunday? I mean, because some of the, some larger churches have gone to, Zoom,
Internet,
FaceTime, and all of this, the social media platform so that they can reach their congregation.
Yes.
But I'm from the South, and we have old school Southern Baptists that have sunrise services on Easter.
Yeah.
Luckily, the governor of Tennessee, essential services is still out there, and they're not really strictly pushing it yet. But places like New York and the epicenter where all of this stuff broke out, guys, we're allowing our rights to be trampled all over, all in the name of declaring a state of emergency. And according to the law and the statute that I've read, anyone can declare a state of emergency for any reason, whether it be for snow, whether it be an outbreak, a pandemic, or whatever. And we are losing our constitutional rights. When you have a governor or a mayor saying, if you go to church, we're coming to arrest you and we're going to shut down. That happened in New York. We're going to shut down permanently.
Mm-hmm.
This is a church we're talking about, and we're allowing this to happen in the land of the free because of the brave. This is something that needs to be discussed. We need to be contacting our legislatures, especially this being an election year. Hey, what in the hell are you allowing to go on? Why didn't you stand up and say, no, Mr. Mayor, no, Mr. Governor, you're wrong?
Well, and that's where I talk about. Remember, if you don't like what's going on, vote. At this point in time, the election year is coming up. Whether the Democrats like it or not, come November, election is coming, and there are a lot of governors that are pissing their people off. There are a lot of mayors that are pissing their constituents off. And when things are good, you don't see the true reality of the person you elected.
Right.
When things go bad,
the crisis shows the true sides.
Yes.
Crisis shows the true colors.
And right now, what we're seeing, and I would tell everybody right now, go and look up your mayors, look up your governors, and look up your state representatives, and see what they have done during this crisis. See what kind of legislation, for example, here in Spokane, the mayor actually didn't ask them, told them the city council, we are going to go pass out lunches to the kids that can't go to school while this is going on. He made them go and do this. Now, that's the type of mayor that I think is pretty cool, okay? On the other hand, you get mayors that are taking advantage of the situation, like you say, and they're saying, okay, it doesn't, the governor didn't say it, but I don't think we should have this going on, or it's getting out of hand, and this is where we, the people, need to observe, because, and we all know this, if you sit there and bitch about it, you can throw a protest, yes. Maybe if you can get enough people, you'll be noticed, yes. But it also counts as what happens come November. How many people were watching?
Sir John, what would you do if you were conducting your shamanic duties and not on Easter Sunday, but you had several, you had more than 10 people that you were counseling and you were spiritually guiding? What would you do if local city sheriff of 12,000 people, city cop comes to you, chief of police, and says, hey, you got to shut this down? How would you address that?
I would thank him for coming because he's a public servant and that he is doing what he's told to do. And I would simply say thank you. I will do that. Me personally, I adapt.
Right.
And, okay, I'll get a little history about me. My dad is a Presbyterian minister. Okay. He's dead now, but I have gone back to that church a number of times, and they've adapted to the times before now because they found that they weren't able to reach their seniors as easily, so they actually started broadcasting already to where it wasn't like they go and they do a big production. They just simply put a camera in the back and bought a little domain website, and every Sunday they kick it up to that. And that, to me, is not asking too much because any church, a minister, almost everybody has a Facebook account now. Okay, a minister can have a Facebook account, take a camera, set it up, and within a matter of 1 hour, set up a production program and have someone in there with a simple laptop in the very back and a little tiny camera putting his service on a Facebook site. That's all you have to do. It's not hard. They can, Al. Like I said, I'm old school Southern Baptist from Tennessee. And I agree.
And, you can nitpick, or society can nitpick. The Second Amendment didn't mean AR-15s. It meant musket rifles, But we're talking something basic principles. Gathering of 10 people. What if you have someone that does old-timey baptisms at the river, and you're there you have a Protestant, you have a Baptist congregation there of 25 people baptizing someone that's just accepted, their Lord and Savior. And I mean, this is the First Amendment. I mean, this is freedom of speech. We're not talking about an AR-15 versus a musket. We're talking about every right that we have, begins with number one, the right.
I agree with
the
you.
right to our ideas and everything. And we cannot forget this come November, but in the meantime, we need to be making telephone calls, and we need to realize that, hey, we just lost a bunch of rights.
Yes.
Simply because someone said state of emergency. They can do this over the common cold. They can do this over 10 inches of snow. They can do this over whatever.
To that I agree.
And I mean,
to that I agree.
It's, not everyone has internet access and stuff like that. And I mean, a lot of the larger churches here in the area where I'm from have went to that.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't be required to because, we have the freedom, we have the right, those bills, it doesn't say anything that you're guaranteed. It says Congress can make no law, doing away with those.
And that,
I'm surprised that the media hasn't really jumped onto it even more, especially, with last week being Easter Sunday. You know, you had some that were saying that they were going to have Easter Sunday services. If they were arrested, they were arrested, and so that's what happened. You know, you had the was it de Blasio or Cuomo in New York that said we're going to come and shut the facility down, maybe permanently.
De Blasio.
And that was what the press. That was de Blasio.
That was de Blasio.
The press kept playing that in a loop.
And here's
now
what,
that Easter Sunday's over, it's over.
Here's what my thought is on that. Okay, I agree with you. It wasn't that I was trying to divert. I wanted to bring out something simple. One, we can adjust, but two, the other part, which to me comes back to, yes, we should protest because that is our right to protest. We should make phone calls. We should be observing because come election time, this is the part that I think bothers me the most. Is in 2018 we had the elections and the House of Representatives got took over by Democrats, and they got took over by Democrats that promised that they weren't going to impeach and that they were going to push to get along. And the second they got there, they changed their tune. How many Democrats who voted for these people because of what they said observed? And it comes down to this now. We've got a national emergency, a national crisis. How many people are observing? Because this is the most important part now. Because come November, how did your government official react? What did they vote for? What did they not vote for? And what were they trying to stand behind? It's very important to think about things like that. Because I can tell you right now, Enzi was kind of on the crazy side, but for some reason he did some smart things. Now, I don't like the man, but he did some smart things. Now, locally, we had a lot of bright politicians doing some very good things. Okay? So I can go with that.
Do you think that they're going to try to use any of these national emergencies, you know, for a couple of years, the left has been trying to accept mail-in ballots. You know, we have absentee ballot voting. We have early voting in some states. Do you think that they're going to try to extend this national emergency? You know, surely this virus will be killed by the heat when, you know, the latter spring and the summer gets here.
Okay, that's already been brought up.
The states in the southern U.S. isn't dealing with it like New York and Washington State is. Do you think that they're going to try to use national emergency to affect how we get our elections, how we exercise our right to vote?
That's already.
I mean, for years they've been, you know, the right's been wanting to have voter ID laws, and now it can be simple as mail in a ballot just because of national emergency. You know, and I was reading, you know, it was like when Washington crossed the Delaware on Christmas Day, and how we voted in 1918 during the flu epidemic and stuff. I mean, we've never allowed anything to stop us from being Americans.
I agree.
Anyone at any level of a municipality can declare a national emergency and whittle away our constitutional rights like it's absolutely nothing.
Well, and I agree with you. And yes, that's already been being brought up. The whole... Okay, if you start watching individual governors, see, the president right now has, and this is where, again, you have to observe. Because the president did something actually very smart. I loved it when he did it. When he sat there and said, okay, from here on out, it's up to the governor. Here are the 3 phases. Here it is. It's up to each individual governor as to what he believes his state can do. Now, what did the Democratic or the Democratic governors immediately do? They turned around and said, well, you're supposed to tell us. We're not supposed to be deciding that. And we don't have enough this, and we don't have enough that. And it could take this long before we're going to be able to get what we need just to make those decisions. They came up with excuses immediately.
Right.
Okay, so do I think that they're going to try to affect elections? Yes. Do I think that people aren't going to see that? No. People are going to see it. because
Well, I just hope that they remember it when it comes November. In closing, I hope that none of we're all suffering from this, government being, telling us to stay at home. But I hope that none of our listeners or none of the nation suffers from this, loses any loved ones to this, and if they do, they find support there to comfort them through this times. This is a horrible illness.
yes,
It's not as bad as it could be, but it's an illness nevertheless. And the elderly and people with underlying conditions, I'm sure that members of the nation will be affected, and those guys need support.
yes.
I greatly appreciate you taking my call and the
No problem.
conversation. It's good to hear your old ass on there tonight. Al, I appreciate it. This is something we're going to have to remember in November when it comes time to vote.
Oh,
because
don't worry.
you've had these people clearly taking away your First Amendment rights, all in the name of a national emergency. And from what I've researched at the national level, that was signed in by Ford way back in the day, and someone needs to revisit that, revise it, and say, hey, we came a long way in 40 years.
Yeah, and I agree. And you don't have to worry about that part. Me and Koz, we won't forget elections. And the one thing I'm going to bring up is how did your elected officials react during this crisis, and did they react properly for the people? And that's going to be the big question.
Exactly. That's who they're representing.
I
greatly appreciate you taking my call, guys. I hope you have a good night. We have a good week, and hopefully, we come through this as a nation and as a country. We are America. We eradicated smallpox. We've done away with a lot of things, and if we can overcome the politics of this bullshit, you're taking an illness and politicizing it just because it's an election year, or just because you want to look good in front of TV, de Blasio, and say that, hey, I did this for my city. Well, you trampled all over the First Amendment rights of that city, especially for, the Christian community on a very significant holiday. They couldn't celebrate Easter, or you were going to shut them down.
Exactly. All right, Doc, you have a good rest of your evening. You're always welcome to call in, and you're always welcome. We appreciate you being a part of our listenership, bud.
Oh, most definitely. You guys have a great night. Godspeed.
Godspeed. All right, everybody. Excuse me. Doc is right, and again, I want to be positive. This is what part of being positive is about. We may not like how our elected officials are acting, okay? But it's up to us. Observe. Observe your elected officials. See how they represented you. Did they truly represent you, the people, or did they represent them, the party? Because right now, people are hurting. Religiously and financially. And we're being put in a position to where people are starting to protest. And they're being demonized for protesting. It's our inalienable right to protest. It says it. Okay? We need to remember who we are. We fought to be free as a nation. We fought to be the strength of capitalism, to show that we are allowed to have religious rights and freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom to pursue happiness. Doesn't mean you get happiness, you can pursue it. And it's up to you whether or not you find it. That's the idea behind all this. Doc's right. Things are being trampled on. You will make it. And this is what I'm going to say. If you so choose. Tonight, I've talked about being positive, keeping a positive outlook, choosing to do things for yourself, making the best of your situation. Come on, guys. We've been in foxholes. We've been on guard duty. What did you do when you were on guard duty on foxholes? You did stuff to keep your mind going. Okay. Next week is the beginning of Ramadan. I am curious to see how the Muslim community suffers for this. Yeah, and I agree, Doc. We'll see how things are handled. But at this point in time, we need to start thinking about how we can help and how we can help ourselves. I'm going to make a suggestion to every one of you. Go out, well, go online, check around, call around to people you know who have sewing machines and ask them, can you make me a mask? Have a mask made for you. Cloth. I have two cloth. I have a cloth. I actually have another one on the way. I have 2 cloth masks. Okay. Get a cloth mask. Not because you're being told to, but because it's common sense. So that when you go out, you're not part of the problem that elected officials can point to. Doc, I agree with you, but again, I don't want to stir that pot. That's their choice. If they decide to be that way, they're going to be that way. I choose to, people who act that way and like to call names and everything else, anymore, it's no longer a shock. The whole, oh, you're xenophobic or you're racist. Anymore, they've overused the words. They've overused those words to where nobody gives a crap. They just like, oh, yeah, another one. Okay, whatever you want to say. Excuse me. Daniel, and that's the problem. Observe. Talk to people. And say, did you really like the fact that de Blasio said, I'm going to permanently shut down your churches? Because there are, believe it or not, Democrats who go to Christian churches. And they can't really be happy with the thought that their church was just threatened. People need to realize that it's not about Democrat or Republicans. It's about common sense in the Constitution. Do I think every Republican is right? No. Do I think Democrats are right? No. I think they're both wrong. We need to care about us. We the people. Like Doc said, I'm a shaman. I don't hold a church service. I adapt to the times. There are reasons I actually don't have group gatherings. And it has nothing to do with anything other than some things that have happened in the past when I've had I've been a part of group gatherings. I don't want that to happen again. It gets a little too interesting. At this point, though, I think we need to adapt to the age. Do I think that church services should be allowed? You know what I think those people, those Christians should have said? Fine. If you want to show up to church, you have to have a mask on. To me, that is being respectful of the times, but it's still acknowledging the fact they have a right to gather. I don't think that we should be going to protests without masks. Not because I'm, oh no, a mask shows that you're giving in. No, a mask says I don't want to catch something. And a mask says I don't want to give you something. But it's still, I'm protesting the fact that I want jobs to open up again. That's common sense. That is common sense. It's not about outright rebellion. It's about saying, okay, I need my job back. I'm willing to bend to get to work again. Give me the opportunity. Tell me what it's going to take for me to work again. If you say I have to wear a mask, done. I'll wear a mask. If you say I have to wear gloves during work, fine. I'll wear gloves. If you say, okay, we'll send a machine over there, and every one of you that walks in has to have their little nasal passage Q-tipped, and then the test will be run in 5 minutes, and if you don't pass, you go home. Fine, do it. But give us the opportunity to show our resolve. That makes sense. That is what we're about. Adapting to the situation. As soldiers, that's what we were taught. Adapt and overcome. So let's say the same, let's start preaching that to civilians. In Facebook, I stream. Why aren't you guys? Even if you type it in. Hey guys, here's a thought for you. Adapt and overcome. Common sense. If they say, if I tell them I want to work, I'll give them the fact that, okay, fine, you want me to put on masks, I'll put on masks. You want me to put on gloves, I'll put on gloves. If you want to put a machine in front of my workplace so that I can test, fine, I'll do it. But then let me go to work. Let's be reasonable. That makes sense. And for that, Doc, I would say, yes, you should call your government officials. Otherwise, observe. Observe your officials. If you have a suggestion like what I just gave, then I contact them because their phones are ringing off the hook right now. You know they are. Give them a way out. I agree, Doc. Common sense is not so common, but we can make it common. We can tell people, okay, fine, I want to go to work. What do I have to do to convince you I want to go to work? Because there are enough people out there that want this. We know this now. We are capable of showing it. Everyone in here, you can sit there and say common sense isn't common anymore, so on and so forth. If it makes sense, no one does it. You're right, Doc. But why don't we change the norm? You just talked about calling your officials. Fine. Change the norm. Make common sense the norm. Well, common sense dictates, sir, that if people want to go back to work and you're sitting there saying you're not sure, fine, give us some hoops. Tell us that we have to put on masks. Tell us we have to put on gloves. Make it so that we have to prove it. But then you better carry through and give it to us. That's an official compromise. That makes sense. And you're going to then find out what your politicians are made of. And if you don't like what you see, you better be getting on Twitter. You better be getting on Facebook and saying, look what this person said, or listen to what this person said when I suggested this. Because that is we the people. Observation. Thank you, Doc. So, it is getting towards the end of the show. I apologize. We didn't get to any fun stories, and it sounds like I was on top of a soapbox beating it a little bit, and I apologize. But I want to remind you who you are, and I want to remind you what we have in front of us. Things can go good if we so want it to. We the people means us. And by God, we are the top 4%, so we should be even shouting louder and stronger because we deserved it and we earned it. All right, everybody, we are at the end of the show, and it is time for me to go through house cleaning. And I know we have guests coming up, so let's see. Let's see here. On the 21st, which is Tuesday, we have Mark Baker from Charlie Mike Comics. Mark Baker is a retired U.S. Army Master Sergeant. His Private Murphy cartoons ran in our times for 8 years, starting in 2000. After a 10-year hiatus, Mark is back to doing Murphy Comics, as well as his newest endeavor called Charlie Mike Comics. That should be fun. And again, CQ is all about fun. There are going to be some fun people showing up there. Tune into it. Support WTF, support your veterans by being a part of it, okay, everybody? Second one is the 28th, another Tuesday. We have comedian J.P. Walsh. Returning guest J.P. is the Navy veteran who is now a comedian. He has performed 20-plus tours to the troops in Iraq and Afghanistan and has toured with the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. J.P. is also partnered with the organization Armed Services Arts Partnership. That should be fun, and hopefully a good couple of laughs. All right, everybody, we have shows on Monday Night Edition with Eyes and Flash. Tuesday, the Pop Culture War with CQ and Radar. Wednesdays are our Donza or Meditation Days. Thursdays are Sergeant's Time with Ice and Spanky. And then Sundays we have Kicking It with Koz, and that would be Koz and Owl, which is me. All right, everybody. We've come to the end of the show. We're beginning the start of the week. Everybody, pay attention to your elected officials, but don't let it become a negative experience. Remember to do things to keep yourself in the positive. Do some exercises. You know how that makes you feel because you did them in the service. I mean, come on, you go down the warehouse, you're bored, do something to keep yourself awake. Do some push-ups. But it made you feel better. Do them. Do something that will help you. And remember, you have the right to say you are to the top 4% of our United States of America. You earn the right. Now make the choice to be a part of that top 4%. Because you have to make the choice to be. Don't allow people to talk you out of it. All right, everybody. I'm at the end of the show. Y'all have a good rest of your week. I'm going to say as I always say, keep it simple. Keep it real. And remember to smile because you just don't know who you're going to help with your smile, including yourself. All right, everybody. Love y'all. Have a good rest of your week. And I will see you next Sunday. Shots.
WTF Nation Radio.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.